welcome to the Pathways presentation for Macquarie University. Today we're going to take you over some different pathway options that you might like to consider.
So yeah, we'd just like to put out a warm welcome to everyone who's tuning in. So we understand some of you will have just received some news in regards to the ATARs being released. So I'm sure it's a interesting night for a lot of you, and hopefully even if you weren't to receive the ATARs tonight, we can give you some valuable information on how the different pathways work at Macquarie and what might be the best for you.
So my name is Rhiannon. I have just finished a Bachelor of Advanced Science with a major in biology. So I actually came through a pathway program myself called the Next Step Pathway. We're going to go over a little bit about that, but I just want to tell you a little bit about why I chose to do a pathway. So I actually went to school interstate. So I didn't actually have an ATAR to apply with when I decided to come to Macquarie. So I picked Macquarie because I heard that it had a fantastic science program. I was really interested in things like genetics and neuroscience, which I knew Macquarie was quite known for. I was also really interested in the relaxed environment that Macquarie has, so this was definitely the ideal path for me.
Perfect. And as Rhiannon mentioned, my name is Connor. I actually just completed also my Bachelor of Applied Finance, and I also am from Queensland. So when I graduated from high school, I made the decision before my actual graduation that I wanted to move interstate, and I knew of Sydney as the biggest CBD in Australia. And when I came down and reviewed some of the universities that Sydney does have to offer, Macquarie was really one that stood out. And so similar to what Rhiannon mentioned, the welcoming environment and the actual just the look and the feel of the campus was really what convinced me at the end of the day, because a lot of the universities do have these different exchange programs and internships and everything. And Macquarie is really well known for those, but I wanted to go somewhere, because I was moving interstate, somewhere that I felt comfortable, because it was going to be my home essentially. I didn't have any friends or family in Sydney before moving. So I wanted to make sure it was somewhere that I could really enjoy myself and dive right into my study. But after I applied, I realized the differences and difficulties in moving interstate for university. And so a pathway presented itself, and it actually ended up being such a blessing. I mean, the stress that I found or that I felt when I first realized I wasn't able to get straight into uni was quite insane. I can't believe there's so much pressure around this thing, but I definitely felt it. And then the relief when I was told about the different pathways it's just amazing that they can accommodate for this. But it makes sense, you shouldn't be judged entirely on this one score that you get at the end of the day. So that's why pathways exist, and we're going to go through the ones that Macquarie has to offer.
Yeah, at Macquarie, we fundamentally believe that you are more than just your ATAR, and Connor and I are both living proof of that. We didn't get ATARs, and here we are, we're sitting here and we're about to graduate. So there you go.
That's it. So today we're going to talk about the diploma programs, which is the pathway that I used. We'll also talk about the standard and the intensive programs, and then the next step pathway, which is Rhiannon's.
And you can send through any questions that you have throughout the presentation. We have the online chat portal, and our associates will be answering any questions that you have during the presentation.
Perfect. So starting with the diploma program. So other than all of the amazing things that Macquarie has to offer in and of itself, they have the college. And so the college offers the diplomas. So I ended up pursuing the Diploma of Commerce. Now, I decided that I knew I wanted to do something within the area of business. And so they have four different diplomas on offer. And there's one that's called the Diploma of Commerce. And that was the one that I selected. Now, outside of the pathway being able to get you into your desired degree, there are some key characteristics that actually make it, to be honest, if I had to go back and choose to go through the normal route, going straight into the bachelor's degree, or going through this diploma pathway, I often say I would choose the diploma, and it's for these reasons I'll outline now. So for one, you're a Macquarie student from the get-go. As soon as you are accepted into the diploma, you get a Macquarie student card and you have access to all of the same facilities every other Macquarie student has access to. So in saying that, you come to Macquarie campus, you have all of your subjects here with everyone else at the university, and the placement of our class is actually quite advantageous. We're right across from the campus common, which is where all of the food outlets are, as well as the library. So it's quite a central location, which is something that I took for granted in my first year doing the diploma, because yeah, once you split off into the bachelor's degrees, it does get the walk between classes gets a little bit longer. So sort of in addition to that, another key characteristic or benefit of doing the diploma is that the structure of the classes themselves are very similar to high school. So there'll be one lecturer or one tutor to around 25 students, and that really allows you to engage with the content a lot better, because you have the one teacher that takes you through every type of class in this topic, and they will really guide you through the assessments, and they can give you more one-on-one time, and all of that equates to a better overall educational experience, in my opinion. Not only that, but how the diploma is structured is different from the bachelor's degree. So as some of you may know, Macquarie's year is split up into two main semesters for the bachelor's degree. Semester 1 that runs from the end of Feb until the end of June, and then semester 2 that runs from the end of July until the end of November. But what they do with the diploma is they've split the year into 6 different terms. And so in a term, obviously, if you can do 2 semesters in a whole year, but 6 terms, the terms have to be shorter. So the terms are 7 weeks in total. And in that 7 weeks, you only have to focus on 2 subjects, which is different when you're doing a bachelor's degree. You have 4 subjects for a full-time load. And personally, I found only having to focus on 2 subjects was such an advantage, because I didn't have 4 different assessments to think about. There was only ever the 2. And it really allowed me to engage with the content, because there wasn't huge gaps between doing one topic and the next. It was usually a couple of days. And all of that, the combination of all that really helps you perform well at the end of the day in your results and in your overall grasping of the concepts and everything like that. And now, sort of coming to the best bit, and what most people know the diplomas for, are that you go straight into the second year of your degree. So when you finish the diploma, whichever diploma it is that you end up pursuing, you go into a related bachelor's degree in the second year, so not having lost any time. In regards to the entry requirements for applicants, it'll be a selection rank of 60. So that's an ATAR plus any adjustment factors. And for those non-school applicants, so those who haven't just graduated high school, it'll be the selection rank alone. So you may have other study that you've done, certificate 4s or above, that'll all be combined to determine what your selection rank is. Perfect. And one of the other benefits, or the last benefit we'll cover, is the loan available. So like all the bachelor's degrees at Macquarie, the fees are fully HECS deferrable. So just quickly on the diploma I actually did, you can see there on the right-hand side of the slide, there's a list of all the bachelor's degrees you can go into. So there's Bachelor of Applied Finance, my degree, there's Actuarial Studies, Business Administration, Commerce, Economics, and Professional Accounting. So if you want to get into any of those degrees and don't meet the selection rank, but have a selection rank of over 60, this is a perfect pathway for you. Now, you may notice that next to Actuarial Studies and Applied Finance, they have the asterisks, and that refers to some additional criteria other than just passing the diploma. So it may be a certain average mark that you need over your subject, or it may be specific marks in specific subjects. And if you are to pursue one of these diplomas, you can go and speak to the college administrators. They'll be more than happy to talk you through what the requirements are and help you along the way. One last thing, the estimated annual fee for the course is $11,155, so very similar to the first year of the bachelor's degrees as well.
So the next diploma that we're going to talk about is the Diploma of Engineering. So this diploma is absolutely fantastic if you're interested in going to any of our engineering streams. So you can see on the right-hand side that you can articulate into the second year of the Bachelor of Engineering Honours with those following streams. You might also notice that Civil Engineering is available, which is becoming available for the first time in 2020. The Diploma of Engineering is also perfect if you want to go into a Bachelor of Science with a specialisation in mathematics, physics, or astronomy and astrophysics. The estimated annual fee is $9,527, and again, HECS help is available.
Perfect. So now we'll go on to the Diploma of Information Technology. So as the name suggests, you can go into the Bachelor of Information Technology or Bachelor of IT, but you can also articulate into the second year of the Bachelor of Business Analytics, Cybersecurity, Engineering Honours, but this one with a specialization in software engineering. So keep in mind, if you're wanting to do engineering and it's software, it's IT, but if you want to do any of the other streams, then it's the Diploma of Engineering, and then the Bachelor of Game Design and Development. So this one has an estimated annual fee of $9,527, and again, it's tax deferrable.
And the final diploma program is the Diploma of Arts, Media and Communications. This diploma is fantastic if you're interested in going to any of the arts fields under the Bachelor of Arts. It's also perfect if you're interested in the Bachelor of Media and Communications. So again, there's a little asterisk on the side. It does have some additional requirements, but the Macquarie College can go over those requirements with you at any stage. The estimated annual fee for this diploma is $6,684, and again, it is deferrable to HECS.
Perfect. So just to reiterate, the selection rank or the entry criteria for each of the diplomas that we spoke about now is a 60, so adjustment factors plus the ATAR. Now, something interesting to note is that there are actually 2 starting dates for the diploma. So both starting dates, term 1 and term 2, so the 3rd of Feb or the 30th of March, will get you to start your second year at the same time. So if you'd prefer to have a little bit of a break at the start of 2020, then you might want to go with a term 2 starting date. But if you prefer to have a longer break at the end, then you might want to go with the 3rd of February starting date. The application will be made through the university's admission centre, which you can see the link for just there. And all you'll need to do is select the term that you would like to start and make sure that you have the diploma with the right term as your highest eligible preference.
Okay, so now we're going to discuss the other programs that the Macquarie College offers, so the foundation and the intensive programs. So again, these are fantastic. You will be an integrated Macquarie student from day one. You will also receive, again, personalised attention through those small classes that the college offers. So 1 lecturer or 1 tutor to a classroom of around 20 students. Upon completion of both of these programs, you will articulate into the first year of your chosen bachelor's degree. So these programs are available under fee help, so you can defer that to the fee help loan scheme. For more information on fee help, you can look at the studyassist.gov.au website.
So yeah, just to reiterate, both of those programs, how they differ from the diploma is 1 in entry criteria and also where they end up. So for the diploma, you go into the second year of the bachelor degree, whereas the standard foundation and the intensive, you articulate into the first year. So for the standard foundation program, this is a perfect pathway for anyone who's looking to get that additional help before starting their bachelor's degree. So if you feel like you need to improve in your academic literacy or your study skills, the only entry criteria for the standard foundation program is that you've completed year 11. So it is a good option for anyone who wants those additional skills and mightn't meet the requirements for the other pathways. So again, like the diploma, it's these programs, or this program, the standard foundation, is split up over 4 terms. So those are 7-week terms, and similar to the diploma, you have different streams that you can go down, but it's all under the one name. So it's standard foundation program, and once you come and study with us, you select either arts, business and commerce, or science and engineering. So the estimated fee for the program is $25,500, and again, as we mentioned, it's available to defer on fee help. So if you were wanting to apply for one of these, you just need to go through to the UX site, but again, it'll get you into the first year of your degree, and you can have a look. There's a link there on this slide. If you search that up, you'll be able to see exactly what degrees you can get into and which stream they apply for.
Cool. So the next program is the intensive program. So the intensive program is very similar to the standard foundation program in that it's smaller class sizes, and it also works on the terms like the diploma does. So this is a program that is 2 terms or 2 7-week periods. This program is absolutely perfect for those who also want to improve their academic literacy and study skills, but who have completed year 12 with their minimum selection rank of 50 or above. So like the standard foundation program, you will choose one of 3 streams, so arts, business and commerce, or science and engineering. The estimated fee for this intensive program is $16,800, and again, you can defer those fees to fee help. And to view the courses that you can articulate into the first year after the intensive program, you can visit the URL that is listed down below.
Perfect. So just going over that again, if this sounds like something that you would like to apply for, here's how you do it. So the requirement for the intensive program, the one we just spoke about, the shorter one, is a selection rank of 50 ATAR plus adjustment factors. And if you're wanting to apply for the standard foundation, the entry criteria is only that you've finished year 11. So once you figure out which one of those you want to apply for, or if you want to apply for both, it's done through the university's admission centre. And again, there are 2 intakes. So if you were to apply for the intensive program, you can choose either term 1, 3rd of Feb, or term 2, the 30th of March. Both will have you finish the program in time to commence your bachelor's degree in session 2 of Macquarie University's year. And if you're wanting to do the standard foundation program, again, you could choose either term 1 or term 2. Both would have you start your bachelor's degree in session 1, 2021. Through UAT, make sure you select again the term that you would like and make sure that it's listed as the highest eligible preference.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about the next step pathway. So this is actually the pathway that I did to go into my bachelor's degree. So this is suitable for students who have a selection rank ATAR above 50, or it's amazing for non-school applicants who are over the age of 21, because if you are over the age of 21, there are actually no entry criteria for non-school applicants. So the next step program is amazing in that you're actually going to be studying alongside other first year students. So you go to the same lectures, you go to the same tutorials, same practicals. So you are a Macquarie student from day one, just like the other programs. The Next Step program is also fantastic in that you're actually studying at a part-time load to begin with. So for me, this was essential as I was coming into university after quite a bit of time after high school. I also had to work a little bit before I could commence full-time study. So the part-time load was amazing to both facilitate my workload and also to introduce me back to studying at a tertiary level. So the way it works, you begin your first semester studying two undergraduate units, and then in your second semester, you will do an additional 2 units. Once you have completed those 4 subjects, you can then transfer or articulate into one of 19 different undergraduate degrees. And for high achieving students, if you receive a credit average in your first 2 subjects, you can articulate after you complete those 2 units, so after 1 semester or around 6 months. There are quite a few degrees that you can articulate from the Next Step program. You can see them there. This is absolutely fantastic if you're interested in going into any of the following degrees. And again, you complete those 4 subjects, you articulate. So if you started in session 1, 2020, if you completed the 4 subjects, you would then be transferred into the bachelor's degree in 2021.
Perfect. So this is, we'll now talk about the fees for the Next Step pathway. So this is something that is definitely important, something to consider when you're looking at the different pathways, maybe comparing one of the diploma programs, or Next Step, or one of the other intensive or standard foundation programs. Fees are quite important, and it's slightly different with the Next Step pathway. So as you may remember, when we spoke about the other pathways, they were all available with some sort of loan. So there was HEX for the diplomas, and then for the standard and the intensive program, there was fee help. Now, for the Next Step pathway, it's actually an upfront fee paying program, but you only have to pay for the subjects that you do in the Next Step pathway. So as Rhiannon described before, if you do the 2 subjects in your first semester and just pass, and then do additional 2 subjects and then meet the criteria for the course you want to get into, then from that point on, you will be able to defer, because you'll be in the full degree, be able to defer everything on a loan. But it's those 4 subjects that you do as part of the Next Step pathway that you pay up front. However, if you are one of the high achieving students and achieve that good GPA or whatever they're requiring for the first semester, it's only the 2 subjects that you have to pay for. So keep that in mind. Now, there are 3 different bands for each of the units. that you are able to do. So sort of like categories, and you can see the subject areas there and the respective amounts. And so essentially, after you apply, you would just pay for those subjects up front. Once you're in the degree, then it's all deferrable on HECS. Okay? Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's it.
Cool.
Perfect. So how can you apply for Next Step? Next Step is a bit different in that you actually submit an application directly to Macquarie. So you can find the URL there about how you can submit an application. There is an application processing fee of $75 and applications are open until the 14th of February 2020.
Perfect. So we'll quickly go over some of the support services available. Now, whichever one of these pathways you end up pursuing, you're all a Macquarie student, like we said. So you have access to all of these. The first one we'll mention is the mentor program. So basically for any first year student coming to Macquarie, you can join the mentor program, which allows you to pair up with a current student at Macquarie, and you have a choice of all the mentors available. They're all volunteers and they're here to help you transition to university. So you might want to choose someone who's in the same degree as you or has a similar background or similar interests. You'll find all that information and then you get to choose your mentor. They'll show you around, maybe help you with some study tips, those sorts of things.
So the next one is Campus Wellbeing. These guys are absolutely fantastic. They do everything from free counselling to student advocacy to financial services. They also have a support puppy and during the exam week, all the students got to hang out with some puppies during exams, which I can only imagine was amazing during exam week.
Helpful for the stress, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay, then there's learning skills. So learning skills are kind of like a separate presentations or tutorials that are run throughout the university that cover different topics that you may require while studying at university that aren't necessarily covered in the subjects or the content of your degree. So things like referencing, things like academic writing, those sorts of things can sort of be missed in some cases. And if you feel like you need any additional help in those areas, you can come to the study skills presentations.
The next one is the Numeracy Centre. These guys are also absolutely amazing. So if you're like me and you're not too fond of maths, these guys will be perfect for you. So they offer a drop-in service for free tutoring in lots of different areas, all the way from finance to statistics for different areas of science. So you can just drop in and they can help you out with absolutely anything that you need. They also offer things like bridging courses for different level of mathematics that you may require.
Yeah. And finally, we'll go over the careers and employment services. So this is something that I feel like not many students really know about, but once they have left the university, they definitely realize, because it's a free careers and employment services. So there's careers advisors available, help for writing your resume, applying for jobs, all of that stuff is covered. And it's free for all students. And that isn't the case when you're out in the public. So what I believe the careers and employment services are best used for is getting that advice. So usually what they recommend, or what I think is a good plan, is to, at the beginning of your degree, go and meet with them, say, this is what I'm planning on doing. What is the job market looking like for this particular type of graduate? If you have a major in your degree, that might be, or they may be a good place to help figure out what it is you want to do. And then also, on the contrary, at the end of your degree, when you've got the qualification, your major's hopefully set in stone, you might want to know, where should I be applying, or getting assistance finding a job. That's exactly what they're used for.
They also do things like looking over your CV and improving your resume for you, which can be really, really important when you're applying for jobs against other applicants. Cool. So that's all from us for the Pathways presentation. If you have any questions, you can always submit them to the chat that is going on right now. Otherwise, we're currently in the middle of our Explore Your Options week, which is running until the 22nd of December. We're running things like one-on-one consultations with student ambassadors, campus tours, things like that. So if you want to book a consultation or a campus tour, you can just visit the URL that's there. Alternatively, you can always give the Future Students team a call on 9850-6767. We have things like live chat, and you can also have a look at our website.
So before we go though, we have been noticing the questions coming through. So there are a few things that we would just like to touch on before we go. And I suppose we'll just jump straight into it. One of the questions we have here is, what's the difference between the diploma program or a diploma and a bachelor's degree at Macquarie? So it's funny, if you are doing one of the diploma programs that aligns with a bachelor's degree, you are actually doing the exact same content, whether you're in the diploma or you're in the bachelor. So the subjects that I covered in my first year, which was part of a diploma, were the exact same assessment tasks, learning outcomes as the equivalent bachelor's students in my degree. So that's something really interesting. And that's also why it has its structure. That's why when you complete the diploma and you complete the equivalent of a year's worth of study, you go straight into the second year of the bachelor degree.
Yeah, and then at the end of it, you're actually coming out with two different qualifications. You're coming out with both a diploma and a bachelor's degree, which you now have as well.
Yeah, that's something that I definitely like to brag about. In the same amount of time and for the same amount of money, I actually got two qualifications, whereas most of my peers didn't. So that was pretty cool. And after a year, if you leave the bachelor, or leave the diploma, I should say, you have that diploma. You had a graduation ceremony, you have your testama, you can use that to go and get jobs. Whereas if you leave after a year of bachelor's degree, you don't have that certificate.
Yeah. So next question is, will I lose much time if I do the Diploma Intensive Standard Foundation Program Next Step Pathway? If you do the diploma, it's equivalent to the first year, so there won't be any time lost. If you choose to do the standard or intensive program, you can look to be adding around 4 to 7 months onto your program. And then with the next step pathway, if you transfer after the first semester, you can look to be adding about 6 months. If you transfer after the first year, potentially a year, potentially 6 months, depending on how many subjects you do per semester. So not too much time.
Yeah, I was talking to a student just today, actually, who was considering the next step pathway, and she was really concerned with potentially adding time to the degree if she were to do one of these pathways. And what I think is worthwhile mentioning as well is that when you are in a bachelor's degree, at Macquarie anyway, we have a voluntary third session. It's called session 3. Some people call it summer school. And that can actually be used to do additional units to catch up on your degree. So theoretically, if you were to start in the next step pathway and do the 2 subjects and get the required mark to transfer after those 2 subjects, anyone else who was in your degree would have done 4 subjects. So you could say you're 2 subjects behind. Then if you did full-time study in the second semester of that year, then you would have done an additional 4 subjects, which still means you're only 2 subjects behind. However, because we do have that voluntary third session, you can actually use that at that point to do an additional 2 subjects if your degree allows it, which would then mean at the start of your second year, you've done 8 units, just like anyone else who had done a full year or full-time study in any degree. So that's kind of cool as well. So now the next question, or one of the other questions we get, is roughly how much time would you have to allocate? Now, they always call this sort of thing, or they always call full-time study full-time, but it never really is like a full-time job most of the time. So with the diploma, if you're doing full-time study, you're generally looking at between 3 to 4 days per week. And then for the next step pathway,
I was only on campus for a couple of days a week. So being only doing those 2 subjects, I was only on campus probably 1 or 2 days a week for that first semester. So that's pretty good as well. Yeah.
And then if you are doing the intensive program or the standard foundation, those are where you start seeing the more intense hours, because they're really trying, they put a lot of resources into getting you up to the appropriate level. You're probably looking at coming 5 days a week. Now, those aren't full days, usually around 4 hours, but those hours are really used to get you up to the appropriate level. Perfect. Well, that sort of brings us to the end of the presentation or the webinar. So by all means, keep tapping away and asking those questions. If you had something more specific, our associates will be still answering them. But again, like we mentioned, if you did have any questions afterwards as well, you can always give us a call.
Cool. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Yeah, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We're more than happy to help with anything that you might need.
Thanks, guys. Good luck and happy holidays.